If you're a developer, an engineer, or a sysadmin, you already know the struggle. It is seriously frustrating trying to find a truly native, high-performance Linux laptop, right? Too often, we're stuck buying some machine clearly built for Windows, wiping the drive, and then burning our entire weekend just hunting down drivers so the Wi-Fi works or the laptop actually goes to sleep properly. Well, System76 claims they finally cracked it with their newly announced machine. So welcome to our explainer on the System76 Pangolin Pro. Today, we're cutting right through the marketing fluff to give you a definitive, totally hype-free guide to the specs, the trade-offs, and the actual engineering realities of this new laptop. Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to start by meeting the Pangolin Pro, looking at power, ports, and portability, diving into the Linux first advantage, doing an engineering reality check, and then wrapping it all up with an honest verdict. Section 1. Meet the Pangolin Pro and the spec sheet promises. So System76 built this machine around the AMD Ryzen AI7 350, which is a beast of an 8-core processor made for desktop-level compiling. But honestly, the thing that immediately jumps out is the weight. It's just 3.64 pounds. That's about 1.65 kilos. I mean, this is a legitimate engineering achievement here. They somehow managed to squeeze in a vivid 16-inch 2K resolution matte display, a blazing fast 165 Hz refresh rate, and an 80 watt-hour battery rated for up to 10 hours, all into an ultrabook tier form factor. Seriously, for a 16-inch Linux machine, keeping the weight that low while maintaining that kind of screen quality, that's a massive win if you're working remotely. But hey, if the screen and the weight didn't get your attention, get ready for a genuine jaw-drop moment when it comes to the memory. The Pangolin Pro supports up to 96 gigs of dual-channel DDR5 RAM running at 5600 megahertz. Just pause and think about that for a second. 96 gigabytes. Imagine compiling massive code bases, running a bunch of local virtual machines, or spinning up, a dozen Docker containers, all at the exact same time without the system even breaking a sweat. It is literally true workstation-tier memory crammed into a highly portable chassis. And this brilliantly illustrates how System76 is approaching scalability. Right alongside that massive memory ceiling, you get dual PCIe Generation 4 M.2 SSD slots. Those can support up to 16 terabytes of total storage. Whether you're wrangling massive datasets, holding localized large language models, or honestly just archiving a lifetime of side projects, this machine gives you the room to grow. You won't have to constantly rely on cloud storage or lug around external drives everywhere you go. Section 2. Power, ports, and portability, and expanding the ecosystem. Now, to keep this laptop as thin and power-efficient as it is, there is no built-in dedicated graphics card. It relies entirely on integrated AMD Radeon graphics. So how do they compensate if you need more graphics juice? Through Oculink. Basically, this is a super high-speed connection that wires straight into the PCIe bus. It lets you plug in a full desktop eGPU when you're docked at your desk. It's the ultimate best of both worlds setup. You get a lightweight laptop for the coffee shop and a total graphics powerhouse when you're back home. And that really builds into this idea of true portability. Take a look at this unusually practical port selection. In an era where most manufacturers hand you, 2 USB-C ports and practically force you to buy an expensive hub, the Pangolin Pro gives you the whole shebang. You've got ultra-fast USB 4.0, legacy USB-A ports for your older peripherals, a full-sized HDMI 2.1 port, and get this, a massive 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port right on the actual chassis. For the target audience of developers and hybrid workers, this means you can literally leave all those annoying adapters and dongles behind. Section 3. The Linux First Advantage, where philosophy meets hardware. This advantage really starts with your choice of OS, either Ubuntu or Poppy OS, featuring their new Cosmic desktop. Because System76 tightly controls both the hardware and the software stack, the usual friction is practically non-existent. And that brings us to the core ethos of the company. Look at this quote from their site. Do what you do best with an open source OS that stays out of your way while collecting zero user data. For those of us who are just entirely fed up with the telemetry and forced updates from Windows or Apple's totally locked down ecosystem, this is exactly what we crave. It's all about infinite customization paired with real built-in privacy. And I kind of love that they have a bit of fun with their mission too. System76 has a super firm right to repair policy. They actively provide guides and lifetime support so you can swap your own parts without voiding the warranty. Plus, they run a free recycling program for e-waste, officially promising that your faulty components will be recycled by, and I quote, the dwarven smiths of the Rocky Mountains. It's a great little touch of humor from a brand based in Colorado that clearly takes sustainability seriously. Section 4. The Engineering Reality Check. Looking past the marketing. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the contrast, because as incredible as the spec sheet is, cramming this much power into a thin chassis inevitably involves the laws of physics, and that means trade-offs. We have to weigh that massive workstation scalability, the 96 gigs of RAM and 16 terabytes of storage, against the major limitation here, relying solely on integrated graphics. Look, if you write code or manage servers, you are golden. But if you rely on heavy 3D rendering or CUDA-based machine learning, this machine is going to struggle without an eGPU attached. We also have to talk about the processor branding. The Ryzen AI 7 350 has a dedicated neural processing unit, or NPU, built right in. The 8 cores of raw CPU power are absolutely fantastic. But the reality check here is that Linux AI tooling for these NPUs is still, well, maturing. Having a hardware AI engine is awesome for future-proofing, for sure, but the real-world, everyday benefit of that shiny Ryzen AI badge is a bit limited right now compared to the marketing hype. We also need to objectively address some historical community realities. When you drop an 8-core processor into a chassis that's less than 3/4 of an inch thick, it is going to generate heat. There's no way around it. You should absolutely expect noticeable fan noise and warm chassis under sustained compiling or virtual machine loads. Also, to fit the full keyboard with a numpad, the large glass trackpad is actually shifted off-center and features separate physical buttons. Now, some users in the community absolutely love this layout, but others find an off-center trackpad to be a total deal breaker. It's just a personal preference you need to be aware of. Section 5. The honest verdict. Is it for you? So, the crucial point is weighing those massive capabilities against the physical constraints. Here's the bottom line. This laptop is enthusiastically for Linux developers, sysadmins, and anyone who needs to run multiple VMs and containers on the go. If you are desperate to escape the Windows and macOS ecosystems entirely, and you want hardware that respects your privacy and your right to repair, this is a top-tier choice. However, it is definitively not for users who need high-end, dedicated GPU performance on the road for heavy 3D or CUDA workflows. And just to be totally transparent, if you are expecting the unibody aluminum polish of a premium MacBook or a seamless integrated AI magic today, this chassis might fall a bit short of those specific expectations. Which brings us to our final question. We've seen the incredible open source benefits, the amazing port selection, and the insane workstation-level memory. We've also seen the lack of a dedicated GPU and the thermal realities of a thin chassis. So I'll leave you with this to consider. Are you primarily compiling code and managing data, or are you out there rendering heavy graphics? Ultimately, is the freedom of native, deeply integrated Linux worth the engineering trade-offs for your specific daily workflow? Take a hard look at your daily tasks, and I bet the answer will be crystal clear.